All right, hope everyone's having a great day. This is Ryan with RK Marine Services. We're here in the beautiful country of Curacao and happen to have with us a Spectra Watermaker. It's out of a Cape Horn Extreme. Great unit, it's very versatile. Have one myself. This particular unit was having some issues. It was still producing good water, good tasting, good quality product water, low TDS. The issue was that one stroke it was producing 6 gallons an hour on one pump, and on the other stroke it would produce 8 gallons an hour. So there's about a 2 gallon per hour variance. So what we're going to do before we tear into the main part of the water maker is we're going to take a look at the annular rings, because typically when you have a variance like that, the culprit's an annular ring. So we're going to look there first, and we've got this valve body with block just all ready to go. It's taken off of the Clark pump. First thing we want to do is we want to look at the inside of the pressure release valve, make sure the O-ring's in good shape. It is. There's no debris in there. Then we're going to check the actual fitting, and of course we see some crud stuck in there. We've got some chunks of corrosion, which can happen on these if they sit a long time, or it just happens over time. But any of this corrosion right here comes off of this and it gets in there. It's a piece of foreign debris, and it can chew up your annular rings and cause the pressure variance we're having. So we've got to clean these out. We want to check all these on the entire water maker. We also want to look at, and sure enough, there is more chunks on the inside of here. So any of that debris can get in there and can chew up your annular rings as well as your spool valve. So as important maintenance, once every year or two, check your fittings, clean them out, make sure they're in good shape. So onward to the spool valve and annular rings. So we've got the center block here. It's loaded. To get the spool valve out, simply just push it through both sides. There's 2 annular rings in there. There's one on each side. And we're going to take a look at this, and sure enough, we see a spot right here with a little bit of that corrosion embedded in it and a little bit of a groove there. We might be able to clean that up with some wet sandpaper. Being out in the field, and we're a couple thousand miles away from anywhere that might have parts, we'll do what we can to salvage it and make it work. Normally we would just want to replace this, but you can clearly see a foreign debris embedded right there in that ring. So this is the annular rings, these white rings with the holes inside of there. And sure enough, we've got a nice groove in one of them right here. And you can see that groove runs right in there through that. We also have another groove, a much deeper groove. That first one wasn't horrible, but we've got a much deeper groove right inside of here. And you can feel that it's catching the pick. It's kind of deep. So we're going to go ahead and remove that annular ring. Now we don't have the actual Spectra tool to do this, so we're going to use a socket that fits nicely against that annular ring. You want to get it in there so it just makes contact with the lip of the annular ring, and then you can use a hammer, and you're going to tap, 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 turn it. Careful to just stay on the ring and not the actual anything else. And tap, tap, tap. You can see that it's starting to come out. When it gets out far enough, you can just pull it by hand. Not quite there yet, so we'll be there soon. And the annular ring is out. And you can definitely see we've got a groove right here. See it right there perfectly. So that's what you don't want. The unit is still making good water. We're still getting 6 gallons per hour on one pump out of this side. We were getting 12 gallons per hour out of this pump. I'm sorry, out of this unit with both pumps running 12 gallons an hour on one stroke. We were getting 14 gallons an hour on the other. So these are pretty testament to how durable these units are. Even when they get a little damaged, they're still producing water. You're still enjoying life. We're just going to see what we can do to clean this up, reassemble it, and be on our way. So having said that, what we're going to do is replace this annular ring with a new one and reinstall it. So the O-rings are in great shape. They're newer, they're black, they're nice and tight. They don't have the older style white O-rings. Recommend replacing on those. These are in good shape, so we're just going to reuse those. We've got a good spare annular ring here. We're going to reinstall. Put just a little bit of food quality silicone grease on that. Lubricate the O-rings a little bit with just a little. You don't want to overdo it. Just a tiny bit of silicone grease goes a long way. We're going to insert the annular ring till it feels like it's flush, and you can actually press the annular ring in and she's in place. So a little bit more pressure and she gets seated and she's even with this surface here because you want to make sure it's going to be recessed. That seal will keep it all together and in place nicely. So we've got her in there. We've got our new cleaned up beautiful spool valve. Just a tiny bit of silicone grease goes a really long way. Around there like that, around that like that. And then we're going to go ahead, you want to make sure that it's nice and even as you insert it, and it slides through. Keep it nice and even all the way through, and then she's centered. And now we're ready to reassemble. We're going to check and replace as necessary and lubricate these O-rings on both sides, and then reassemble the valve body with the two side blocks. Keep in mind that does not take a lot of pressure to screw this all together. You want to be nice and gentle and just lightly snug these bolts. Otherwise, you can damage these units. There's no brass inserts on this piece, unlike the center block where the piston rod goes through. This piece is just threaded into the material, so you just light pressure. We're going to put it all back together, reassemble it, and we should have a much better performing unit. So thank you guys for tuning in, and more to come.